Good morning, girls and boys. Today we start Lesson 11 of Module 3. The topic today is subtracting fractions, and we only have one vocabulary word today. You'll see it in your problem set. Generate. It means to create. For example, generate equivalent fractions. That would be where you take one fraction, such as 1/2, and you make another equivalent fraction, such as 2/4. This would be generating an equivalent fraction. Our learning goal today is I am able to subtract mixed numbers and fractions with unlike denominators. This won't be too bad if you're not struggling so far. Just pay attention. I'm going to show you a few different strategies for you to use, and you can pick which one is best for you. I will tell you, though, some are more efficient than others, so make sure you try all of them. Let's get started. The first problem we have is this one, 1/3 minus 1/5 equals n. So I'm going to show you two different ways to do it. On the left is the strategy I'm going to use first. You'll see this is a pretty familiar model by now. This is the visual model. So over here I'm showing 1/3, and I've got vertical lines splitting the whole up into 3 pieces, and I've got 1 shaded in. Over here the whole is split into 5 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 of those is shaded in. First thing I need to do, since I can't take away this from this, is I need to make sure that we're talking about a fraction with the same denominator. So to do that, I will draw these lines over here. Let's do that real quick. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and make sure you're doing this as well in your notebook. And then what I'll do is over here, I will draw the vertical lines. 1, 2. Now I see that I have the problem 5/15 minus 3/15. Now that's easy enough to do, but I want to show you how to do it with the visual model as well. So what I'm going to do is just take away 1, 2, 3 of the blue pieces from the left side, and watch how that looks. We're just going to cross them out, 1, 2, 3, and you'll see that I have 1, 2 left. So in this example, n equals 2/15. And you can't divide the denominator of 15 by 2, so this one we actually can't reduce. This is as small as this fraction can get. Now let's look at the one on the right. Let's look at this strategy over here. Excuse me, this strategy right here. Again, we see 1/3 minus 1/5. This is a little bit faster way to do it. If you feel comfortable with it, I would highly recommend doing this. First, we multiply the denominators together. 3 times 5 is 15, so we'll just go ahead and write these over here, 15. Then we see 5 times 1 is 5. And we see 3 times 1 is 3. And we see that 5 minus 3 is going to be 2/15. It's a much faster way of doing things. So n equals 2/15, no matter what. n 2/15. So that's one way to show you. But this is a smaller fraction. This one's not too bad. What happens when we have a mixed number? That's where things get interesting. Let's check the next problem. This is a more complicated example. So here I have 3 3/5 minus 2 1/2 equals b. So we need to figure out what b is. On the left is the first way that I will solve this problem. We'll call this option 1. And over here on the right is option 2. Now we see these are the exact same problem. I just have them up there so we can keep track of things. First thing I'm going to do if I'm working on the problem on the left is I want to go ahead and get rid of all the whole numbers that I can right off the bat. So I know that I can take away 2 right here, 2 from 3, so I'm just going to rewrite this problem as 1 3/5 minus 1/2, because all I did, again, was I just got rid of the whole numbers that I could take away, because 3 minus 2 equals 1. I didn't do anything with the fractions yet. This is my new problem, so I have this equals b. The next thing that I need to do is think about how I can separate these fractions out. So I need to get a common denominator for 3/5 and 1/2. So I'm going to rewrite this as 1 plus, and this is where I need to think about how to get these things together here. So if you were taking notes along with me, I want you to listen very closely to what I'm doing. First, I'm going to get a common denominator of whatever 5 times 2 is, and I know that that is 10. So 10, and I'm going to say minus 10 over here. Then I need to think, okay, what's 2 times 3? 2 times 3, that would be 6. And what is 5 times 1? That would be 5. So now I have a little bit easier problem to solve. Equals B. The next thing I'm going to do is take away 5/10 from 6/10, and that's going to get me my answer. It'll be really, really easy, and I'm pretty soon going to see here that B equals 1 and whatever the answer to 6/10 minus 5/10 is. And I know that 6 minus 5 is just 1/10. Now that's a pretty good way to solve things. So this problem is solved. We see that B equals 1 1/10. And that the answer to this, 3 3/5 minus 2 1/2, is 1 1/10. Now I'm going to show you a different way over here, and you're going to think maybe this is a little bit more complicated, but you'll see that you can always use it. It's something that will always work, so it's a valuable one to learn how to do. Now pay close attention here. Whereas on the left, I got rid of all the whole numbers except for 1 when I took away 2 from 3. This time, I'm going to immediately get rid of all the whole numbers, not by subtracting, but by taking them and converting it all into one big fraction. Because I know that every whole in this one over here, in 3 3/5, I know that every whole is going to be 5/5. I can take 3 and turn it into fifths and add it to the 3/5. So 3 times 5 is 15, plus that other 3/5. I'll see that if I convert this, I will get 18/5. I can do the same thing on the right. I know that if we're talking about halves, that 1 whole is 2 halves, right? 1 whole equals 2 halves. Now I happen to have 2 wholes, so that will be 4 halves. 2 wholes equals 4 halves. And I have an extra half here, so I can see that if I take 2 and I turn it into halves, altogether I will have 5 halves. Now, this gets me a lot closer to my answer. Now all I have to do is convert this whole thing to a fraction with a common denominator, which will be pretty easy. So, first thing first, like I said, we kind of always do this pattern, right? So what I need to do is take and have 2 denominators. 5 times 2 is 10, so we're going to put that for both of them. And that's going to be part of our answer as well, so I can get that part set up. Over here, we're going to multiply 2 times 18, which might sound kind of scary, but if you need to, you can write it separately. It's let me draw this over here. 2 times 18 is going to be 36. So I'll put 36 up here. And over here I just need to multiply 5 times 5, which is easy enough. 5 times 5 is just 25. Now I see that I just need to take away 36 from 25. And if I do the math, I'll see that that equals 11/10. Now I'm not stopping here, and you know why? Because this is an improper fraction. I don't want to leave this like this. I want to make sure it makes sense and is a mixed number. Fortunately, 11/10 is really, really easy because I know 10/10 is 1 whole, and if I remove 10/10 from this, I'll have 1/10. Again, we'll see that B equals 1 whole, aka 10/10, and 1/10 left over. So these are the 2 different strategies we can use for finding the difference in a mixed number subtraction problem. So even though this video was fairly short, we did cover a lot of different strategies. I mean, we covered 4 different strategies for how to subtract mixed numbers and fractions from one another. So I really want you to think about our learning target when you say, are you a 1, a 2, a 3, or 4 here? let's look one more time. I am able to subtract mixed numbers and fractions with unlike denominators. In this example, 1 would be if you just can't do it. 2 would be maybe you can get the fraction part or the whole number part, but you frequently get incorrect answers. A 3 in this situation would be where you almost always get correct answers. And 4 would be where you always get the correct answers, and you can really explain yourself very well, enough that you might be able to help another student who may need some assistance. So think 1, 2, 3, or 4. Hope you enjoyed the lesson.